Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
We have a new correspondent, James, the second one of the week. If you don't count returning correspondents, why don't you introduce him to everyone?
I shall. Let me introduce you to our new Chelsea correspondent, Gary Mantle. How are you, Gary?
Hello, yeah, very well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me on.
Good man. I was going to say it's a mess. It's not a mess, but there's a lot to get through here. Is there anywhere specifically you feel like you've been getting questioned and you'd like to start?
No, I mean, do we want to start with the takeover in general and get it out of the way?
Can
Then
do.
just
How do you
go
feel
from
about
there.
it?
I'm happy. I'm happy that the people that came in, they were probably the ones that I wanted to come in, to be honest. It's difficult because you never know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know who's got what planned. These guys seem to have the best sort of long-term plan for the club. Like one of the main issues that we had under Abramovich, as everybody knows, we weren't really sustainable. We were relying pretty heavily on his bank loans. These guys have got plans, things to do with the stadium, things to do just with general marketing. And also they're like the way that things have gone these days, I think you might need to be a bit more, let's say, socially conscious. And these guys seem to have that at heart. Just in their general meetings with people before the takeover was confirmed.
Yeah, Gary wins the award for political correct statement of the week so far.
Very good, mate. Well done.
I think like you look at all of the kind of foreign ownership that's come into the Premier League and the American. I mean, Aston Villa fans will probably disagree with Randy Lerner, but generally you look at Liverpool, Arsenal with the Cronkies and so on. As much as you might not like them, they know how to run sporting businesses, right? The size of the franchises in baseball and basketball and American football and what have you are huge over there. And
That's right.
These guys know, like from a sports point, from the business side of sports, it feels like a lot of them, they do know how to at least keep it sustainable and profitable, if not exciting. Like exciting though is another word for irresponsible, isn't it? Really,
Well, that's right.
Smashing the cash. So I agree with what you're saying, and I think generally the owners that we've seen from America, who own decent size other franchises in America, have been okay. I mean, I was just thinking, James, like even Burnley fans will probably disagree, and a few others will disagree with their new owners, but generally the bigger ones have been decent.
No, I think Chelsea have probably landed as well as they could have, because certainly around sort of the April period and stuff, you're looking at and you kind of fearing the worst in a way. I don't think it was ever the Chelsea Football Club's going to fold, but it was a conversation to be had, and what will obviously happen to the club in terms of obviously Abramovich had left so much money in the club. What would happen if he said he wants it all back? And there were a few things which I certainly would have alarmed Chelsea fans. Plus, the end of the season wasn't as hoped and stuff as well. I think the challenge for them, like the kind of question we debated then was, can Chelsea be sustainable as a big six club, as you will? I don't think there's too much doubt about that. I think the challenge for the owners will be to come in a few years once it's settled and they get over this stadium hurdle and stuff, which eventually is probably going to be restrictive in terms of now the financing is not coming from one person. And eventually it will come to the case where Chelsea look at the other five, and in terms of match day revenue and stuff, they're going to be miles behind. And it will get to the stage where they're possibly behind yourselves, Suj, behind Newcastle even, for example. And from a model perspective, in the incoming years, what Chelsea do with Stamford Bridge, I think is going to be really important. That's not so relevant for what's to come for the season ahead and stuff, obviously.
No, that's right. And that was actually one of Roman's big things when he wanted to sell the club. He wanted somebody to come in with a plan in place for how they're going to redevelop the stadium. As we know, he wanted to do it in the past. That was when he lost his visa, which was 4 years ago.
So that expired. Now,
Yep, and then obviously the sanctions made it just a little bit more complicated, let's say, trying to sell the club.
Yeah, okay. I think that will summarise. I'm sure we'll come back onto the owners a little bit more. What's your hopes for season ahead now that it's calmed down, Gary? Do you look at it and go, obvious, got to challenge Liverpool and City, or is there a consolidation feeling about the season to come for you?
Originally, I'd have gone with we've got to challenge Liverpool and City, because I really don't think we were as far behind as it seems last season. Having watched what I watched the other night, we need to just stay in the top 4, the way things are at the moment.
When did you fill in the correspondent doc predictions?
I reckon you can guess when I did.
I'm fairly certain it was before the game.
It was before the game. That's right.
And I've got a fairly confident feeling that how you feel now is a little bit different. But should we read too much into one game? I know it's the Tuchel comments as well to go with it, but I mean, Liverpool lost 4-0 to United. Like, you forget about it and stuff. You were beaten 4-0 by Arsenal at the weekend. It seems comprehensively so. What happened? What's happening? Why is Tuchel doing his nut?
Well, Tuchel doing his nut isn't a new thing. That's started to become a bit more of a running theme. It was so. I was thinking back to other times we've let in 4 goals, because it's actually started happening a little bit too often, because we also let in 4 goals to Arsenal in April. So that's twice in 3 months that we've let in 4 goals to them. Brentford. So you watch a game like Brentford and you go, oh yeah, it ended 4-1, but really it was like a 2, maybe 3-1. This 4-0 was a 4-0. We got absolutely played off the park. I'd said prior to the game, ignore our first 2 friendlies, their fitness. We changed everybody at half time, 45 minutes. That's fine. Tuchel's going to want to see something in this game. And he didn't see it. Or maybe he did see it. Because I do have another theory. That one theory is we're not as good as we're supposed to be. The other one is he maybe was trying to send a message of we really need to sign people. It's all good going out and like putting fingers in different pies, but we really need to get people over the line because the backup players that we've got are not good enough.
Are you suggesting there was a throwing of the game to prove
Not
the point?
throwing of the game necessarily, but I think maybe he might. I don't know, but I think he might have wanted to make a point to the owner of, look, we've been hearing about I don't know how many different players, and we were going to sign like 2 or 3 attacking players and 3 or 4 defenders, and we've signed 1 of each. And he's saying,
you know what that's
you
like,
need to get
James.
them over the line.
What's
Conte,
that?
you know what that's like. Conte in January time. Press conference, throwing toys out the
There is
pram a
no
little bit
way
to
in the
make a
world that we
point.
threw the home fixtures against
No,
Southampton
no.
or Wolves
But-
or the
but-
games against Chelsea.
I'm
yeah, I
talking
mean,
about
certainly-
the manager making a statement in public.
Yeah, certainly
send
the
a
League
message
Cup
to
semi-final
the
when
owners,
we picked Galini in goal for the second leg.
Yeah, you threw that game.
Was what you doing here? Like, might as well have stayed at home, kind of stuff.
I had a great time. I went to that.
I'm sure
brilliant.
you did, mate. I don't think you'd have such a good time this year. If Galini had played all through the competition, you go fine, but he played Loris in the first leg. So what's Loris not playing for in the second leg? So yeah, there was. But that's a goalkeeper though. It was a weird one. Anyway, it's off topic. So concerns, right?
So one of the things that he mentioned was, well, Arsenal were full strength and we weren't maybe full strength. Well, we had at least 7 players that were in our first team. Mendy, James, Thiago Silva, Jorginho, Havertz, Sterling, Mount. They're all first team players. Werner's supposed to be. I hope he's not. Gallagher's one of the backups. He's 4th choice midfielder. Chalobah has been playing in our first team. It's only Emerson Palmieri who started that you think, well, I can't see any place for him in the squad really. So actually, it shouldn't have been as bad as it was. And we did try a new system. It was a sort of 4-2-2-2 or 4-2-4.
To be fair, you played against us in those cup semi-finals and
That's
were
right.
very good.
Yeah. And so it is something that we've sort of experimented with slightly different personnel, because usually every time we've played that, Ziyech has played on the right and he does like that defensive work kind of thing. But it was Mount that was out on the right, and that's just too limiting for somebody as good as him, as energetic as him. Sterling was trying to move around a bit. Werner was absolutely terrible. I really think he has to go.
It sounds like they're trying to get him go. I heard he was off to Leipzig.
I've heard both of those.
Juve's the second one. Yeah, Juve want Werner and Morata. They've clearly not learned from Chelsea's own problems over the years. I don't know if they've made an offer for Radamel Falcao as well. And apparently they was offered to Leipzig as you tried to steal a late march on PSG for Mukiele, once realising that Jules Koundé is holding out for Barcelona. Barcelona is the centre of every web with a big club at the moment, basically.
Oh, particularly us.
What was it you treated? You said, I can't go to bed without Barcelona looking over my shoulder.
I mean, the official one was I can't go for a shit without expecting Joan Laporta to be in there before me. But yeah.
But incomings are wanted. So you mentioned about Tuchel potentially sending a message to the board and stuff.
Yeah, and
What's the message? Is it
What?
a new centre forward, new centre backs?
New centre backs is the main thing. New defence in general. He said it several times in interviews. He said in one of them, we've lost 3, which suggested that he's expecting Azpilicueta to go. He said we need at least 3 to replace them, but we've only got 1. I think he wanted forwards, but we've got to a point where he can't be picky, and he's like, okay, I want forwards, I need defenders, and he's starting to sound a bit desperate.
It's interesting though, because one of the things, obviously, through the whole takeover thing, and when you were kind of restricted and stuff, was we all thought, oh my God, isn't he coming across well? Like the mic kept getting put in front of him, and the way he dealt with the media was like brilliant. He was hung out to dry by the club a little bit, and he dealt with it magnificently. And you think, well, you've overcome that. Everything else should seem quite easy now. There's a month left of the window. It's not like you can't win the games you've got before the deadline shuts with what you've got. Why's the toys coming out the pram?
Well, I think maybe he thinks that we can't. I mean, we're going to start with Everton away. That to everyone else is an easy game, but for some reason for us, it's not an easy game.
You've lost like 4 in a row there, haven't you?
So the last 2 times I think we've won were 2017 and 2015. Both times that we won the title.
Yeah, the flip of that is Tottenham's quite a difficult game for most teams, but it's not for you. So.
Yeah. I mean, the game at the back end of last season, you threw everything at them. Pickford had a few worldies, and I don't even know what the possession stats in that game were, but it was ridiculous, like 80+% for Chelsea.
Yeah, and that wasn't the only game.
Should have won it.
That's right, and the same happened, I can't remember, it was a week before or the week after against Man United, where we absolutely battered them and we couldn't score. So that's why we're like, right, we need to get some forwards in. We've got Sterling. I think that's a good signing.
Yeah.
I think he wanted at least another one. Rafinha would have been an amazing signing, but I get why he wanted to go to Barcelona. You kind of thought that, okay, there's Rafinha and Dembele, we're going to get one of them, but no, suddenly Barcelona have got enough to keep both of them, or get one, keep the other one, and buy Lewandowski, and still buy Jules Koundé. This is a club that last I heard was skint. But
they are. Trust me, they are. But they're pulling levers. But don't worry, Tebas will moan about how we're doing our business in the Premier League. Anyway, there you go. But in seriousness, the attack, therefore, with Sterling in, he's surely stronger than last year, no?
In theory, yeah. We've lost one, Lukaku, and we brought one in, Sterling. And who do you think is a better Premier League goalscorer? I think it's Sterling, personally.
Well, I think probably Lukaku in any team other than yours, to be honest. I mean, after all, he was your top goalscorer, wasn't he?
He was our top goalscorer in all competitions, if you include the Club World Cup. People include that competition when they want to. He was joint top if you don't.
Well, let me ask you, Gary, would you include it? Yeah, exactly. So the answer's Lukaku,
isn't it? It is.
You know,
top scorer.
1 in, 1 out, which is right, but then Breuer's come back in from loan, but then say Werner leaves, which we think is likely. So that's another 1 in, 1 out.
Yeah.
I mean, he obviously does wants to play. I wouldn't go so far as to say Breuer wants to leave, but I would say Breuer wants to play, right?
Yep.
And it's unlikely that he's going to be first choice with you guys. So whether he goes out on loan again or does end up staying is going to be interesting as well.
So this is another one of the problems, because that's also who I would mention after Kai Havertz, but it's not who's been playing in pre-season. He is injured. My question is, what the hell is Michy Batshuayi doing back in the squad? Because if he was any good, surely some of these clubs who are like trying to push from that sort of mid-table up, like including West Ham are looking for a striker, Wolves might be looking for a striker. I haven't heard anyone linked with Michy Batshuayi. So if he's not good enough for these clubs, what the hell is he doing in our squad? But he's been playing in pre-season.
Well, I suppose he's contracted to you. It feels like he hasn't played for you for about 5 years. So I don't know what contract you gave him in the first instance.
He hasn't. It was Conte's second season was the last season. So yeah, that's 5 years ago. So yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So what contract did you give him, mate?
This is the thing. So something that people kept on telling us was, oh, you're going to miss it when Marina Granovskaya goes. Well, actually, we might be able to finally get rid of some dead wood, because she's the one that kept extending them. Every summer you get Batshuayi goes out on loan and has his contract extended. Bakayoko on loan, contract extended. Baba Rahman, Danny Drinkwater, Ross Barkley. The list is endless. And we just need to shift some of this dead wood, even for nothing. I mean, we've
You
let
do
Lukaku go
play-
for nothing.
You do play a little bit of a volume game sometimes on the markets, especially with the youth
Yep.
system as well. So I can see why they want to renew the contracts to add value to try and make that money back when they sell them. So from that point of view, I get it. They just don't seem to have a.
But it doesn't
sell 'em or
work.
Move them on, like looking
It
at
doesn't work,
looking
does
at
it?
when you say you might be light and the depth is not there, but if you were to go click into FPL and look at the list of players, I mean, the volume of players that you have in midfield, like Ross Barkley, Billy Gilmore, Loftus-Cheek, I'd say they're all
None of them are good enough
behind-
to play for Chelsea. Billy Gilmore might be in the future.
They're behind the likes of Conor Gallagher, Kovacic, Jorginho. Like, the depth. There's a lot of players. Do you think they're not good enough to be squad players though for Chelsea, James?
In my opinion, no. I mean, like Barkley is another one. How long's he been there now? He's had loans. He's come back. He has one game in 10. You think, oh, it might finally click. Let's be real. It's the same with Loftus-Cheek. Loftus-Cheek got used every position last year, and I mean that. Literally nearly every single position during the season, and I wouldn't say excelled in any of them. I'm sure he was used as a false nine. He played sweeper at Luton, I want to say, in the cup.
He came on in the cup final.
He played wing.
As a
He
number
played
9.
wing back at Norwich. I mean, like they
for 45 minutes and collapsed.
He
at the end of
really
the
has
game.
tried to get something out of it. He's not gonna develop and happen. It feels like this is how I'd sum up Chelsea at the moment. And I'm sure you've heard me say this already, Gary. I feel like you're the only club that could truly push Liverpool and City realistically, unless they both die on their ass. Like if you said one of the other 4 is going to get to 90 points or so, I'd have said it's you. You're the most likely. But I also feel like it feels like it's bubbling where it could explode. Like the Mourinho season after he won the title the second time round and stuff. I'm not saying you'd finish 10th, but you understand what I'm saying. It just feels like it's bubbling. Tuchel's falling out. He's having a whinge. You can see the signs. We've been through this so many times before with Chelsea, where a party might be coming. And it might be, knowing your lot, that you're 8th in November and you finish the season with an FA Cup, a Champions League, and you finish 3rd with a new manager.
Yep.
Because we've seen it so many times before.
No, I agree. But then if we look back at last season, if you cut the season off on the 31st of March, so just before we played Brentford, we were pretty resilient. We were doing all right. The only teams that beat us, City beat us twice, West Ham beat us, and Juventus beat us. That was it. Liverpool beat us on penalties. Otherwise, we drew a lot of games, and we drew a lot of games that we were ahead in as well. But the squad was solid. If we could just get a few goals in there, then we'd look like challengers.
So why does this feel different? I mean, what have you realistically in the squad? What have you really lost? Lukaku wasn't first choice anyway, so you've lost Lukaku. You've lost bodies defensively. Rudiger. I meant to say you've lost Rudiger.
Yeah,
you've lost bodies defensively. Where clearly, yes, you need numbers at centre back. It's fairly clear that you're trying to get it in and done.
Yeah, but trying is one thing. We actually need to get it done. Rudiger's a big loss. I think Koulibaly's probably the right person to replace him. From what I've seen, from what I've read, his style of play is as similar to Rudiger, maybe without the 35-yard shots every game, but it's as similar to Rudiger as you're going to get. Tuchel likes the centre backs, apart from Thiago Silva, to be aggressive, to push. Sometimes you think they're getting dragged out of position. They're not. That's what he wants them to do. He likes this one-on-one thing because the opposition are like, oh, I thought I was coming short to get space. I don't have any space. I can't receive the ball, kind of thing. But the other problem that Tuchel talked about, and this is true, is the attitude of some of the players that are still there. So one of the things, it won't make any highlights because why would it? But when Azpilicueta was on the other day, he did that Sunday league thing where someone passes you the ball and you lift your foot up and it rolls out and off for a throw-in. You're like, you're the captain of this club. Like, this is the man that's supposed to set the example. He's supposed to lead, and he's like, he
wants to go, doesn't he?
He wants to
go
to Barcelona.
The captain wants to go.
Captain wants to go to Barcelona.
It's them again.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it.
Like they're haunting you, mate. I get it.
So this is the thing, right? But he's not going to go to Barcelona if Barcelona sign Jules Koundé. Well, I don't know.
I wouldn't rule out Barcelona might put a bid in for you tomorrow, mate. I wouldn't rule
My
it
tan's
out.
good enough, mate. I don't need to go to Barcelona.
No, fair game. Yeah, me and Suj look very pale at the moment. Thanks for that, mate. I might draw the curtains and put the light back on, Suj. It makes me look like I've got a tan.
Mate.
It's essentially the same team, Koulibaly for Rudiger, the same team that at Christmas time looked like it was in the title race.
Yeah.
With the top three, as a top three.
Yeah.
So what's so different? Why does this feel like quite negative quickly? Can't just be off the back of Arsenal.
It's not just off the back of Arsenal. And I was like prepared to write off like the end of last season because we knew we were coming top four. I know people started saying, in fairness, not so much Tottenham fans, more Arsenal fans, or you might slip out of the top four. It's like, we are not going to slip out of the top four. It's fine. The players were playing like they knew that as well. And it didn't help that obviously we were sanctioned. So we were playing in front of crowds of like 24,000, 25,000. So it's bad for the players when you turn up. The ground's not completely full. The atmosphere's not the same, but the away fans are there making loads of noise. Like, so you think, all right, let's put that to bed. Let's move on and start with this season. But from what Tuchel's saying, there's still players there. As we said, Azpilicueta who wants to leave. I think Ziyech wants to leave as well. Alonso wants to leave. The mentality and the focus is just not there at the moment. And that's the concern.
I think that's very well summed up. And I also think that's very, very concerning that there's a lot of people there at that football club who you're saying their focus isn't there, which includes the captain.
Yeah.
And that has got to have a knock-on effect. I mean, you'll know I said several times on our Slack last year, don't worry about Chelsea top four. If they have to do the business, they'll do it well.
Exactly.
But do you feel this season now it is at danger?
It depends. Because off the back of the 4-0, I did. And it wasn't even, I'm thinking, oh, Arsenal are going to finish above us. I'm still not quite sure that they're ready. It's the fearfulness of Man United as well. In fact, if we do slip down, we could finish below Arsenal. It's true. But yeah, there's Man United. We don't know how good Newcastle are going to be. You'd like to think they're not going to be as good as that, but we don't know how bad we're going to be. So we don't know where we're going to finish. After last season, I was honestly thinking, despite how bad Lukaku was, don't let it detract from how bad everybody else was that played up front as well, because it wasn't just him. Havertz had like little patches, Mason Mount did well, and everybody else was well below standard. Pulisic, Werner, Hudson-Odoi. I thought Ziyech was all right. So I'm thinking, if maybe they can step up this season, maybe, even if they all scored like 5 more goals and got us like, 15, 20 more goals, and we're going to be that much closer to challenging. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen because it doesn't look like the application is there. So now I'm starting to get worried. Now I'm starting to think, okay, are we actually going to score more goals than last season? Well, and I don't think we are.
Interesting. The one thing I said to your predecessor, Ted, last year on this pod was that for Chelsea to win the league, Lukaku would have to get 20 plus goals or so. And if it didn't work out, Chelsea couldn't win the league. The analysis is a little bit different now. One, because the expectation is a little bit lower. I think it's fair to say than this time last year. And Raheem can fill the void where the players last year, I look the same with Havertz now. Look at Havertz. What's a good season for Havertz? 14, 15 goals, maybe. It's not going to be enough. It's not like with us, Kane and Son, and I'm not saying for the title, but Kane and Son, you can look at it now and they'll get, on a bad season, 30, 35 between them. If Havertz gets 15, who else is getting 10, 15 to go with it? So you need one right now that's we're going to really push. And Raheem Sterling is a player that's capable of winning the Golden Boot if he plays regularly. We've seen that with the likes of Salah and Son and stuff, that he doesn't have to be a central striker. So I think that's a positive difference, that he provides you, in my opinion, a definitive guarantee of a certain amount of goals, subject to him being a regular and staying fit. So that's an improvement on last year. But the central striking issue does remain a problem, clearly.
It does, but then I'd also think back to the golden years. So Mourinho's first spell in charge, and Drogba was the central striker. But he was rarely the top scorer. Lampard was usually the top scorer. And actually, when we first started out,
you had that contribution.
That's right. And either side of Drogba was Duff and Robin, and they were both contributing. And this is what I'm saying was more as much the problem last season. Is you got players like Werner, who played a lot of games, and he scored 4 league goals, and 3 of them were against Southampton. And he's still in the squad. And you're like, well, either he's really he needs to really kick on, really, really kick on, or he just needs to go. And I think he just needs to go, because I don't think it's going to happen for him. I think the issue that we might have with Sterling is that if we play in the same style that we did last season, then it's just not going to suit him at all because we were so slow. Our build-up was awful. We'd usually rely on like a decent cross in the end from Reece James, who's managed to like make it himself, and we were missing Chilwell, so that didn't help either. And this is like hopefully something that will improve this season. But it was quite like ponderous. You got people like Ziyech slowing things down. This is why we wanted Rafinha. Mount's brilliant. He's just not as quick. And our attack, Lukaku wasn't very quick. Havertz isn't very quick. Our attacks were just pretty slow. And I think Raheem needs us to be a lot quicker, a lot more dynamic. And I just don't know if we're going to be.
Yeah, I think Werner, we know now. I think the jury's been gone, come back with a verdict, and he's not gonna make it. I mean, you say he scored 4 league goals, but another way of skinning that is he scored in 2 games. We didn't play every game, but just to only score in 2 games is not great.
No, he's not great at all. But then Pulisic didn't score him any more either. And this is what we need. We need those additional goal contributions, and we're not getting them. And that's why we wanted more than one additional attacking player, because we're not going to rely on Mount for like that many goals. But his creativity is brilliant. His balls into the box and stuff like that. If there's nobody there to finish it, then what's the point? And we've just always got that one sort of dead spot. Even Callum Hudson-Odoi is like he's showing potential. There's no end product, and that's what we're missing. That end product.
I think for you to win the league, Sterling would have to be near winning the Golden Boot. And Mount probably needs to be getting towards 13, 14 goals. I mean, that's probably a big ask.
Got 11 last year.
Yeah, exactly, and he gets better every season. So that's his level. But I think we need more than that.
What are you thinking, Chelsea FPL wise then? Because we've kind of painted a bit of a grey picture here for Chelsea.
But there's loads of good options.
If you look at the ownership numbers, I mean, Reece James stands out massively at 41% at the time of recording, I should always add. Mendy's over 23% still. And there's sprinklings like Mason Mount's nearly at 10%. So there's a bit of interest in him. Sterling's at 7%. There's quite a lot of players with like 5, 6, 7% that you'd be like, oh, who's bought him then? Like Koulibaly or Thiago, or I can understand Chilwell. There's a lot of good options at good prices from an FPL point of view anyway. And there were some teams that you gave some good beatings to as well. And on your day, you can score 4 and 5 and the fullbacks do contribute. So do you have any in at the moment?
No, but that's because I watched the game the other night. And I agree. And I think I'd say there's probably 6 like good options. I think Mendy's a good option. I think James and Chilwell are in theory good options. Mount's good, Sterling's good, and Havertz could be an option. And I have doubts about all of them.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I should caveat this at this stage, saying we are recording this on Wednesday afternoon because this is going to look a right mess when it goes out on Thursday night and you've bought Neymar and Cristiano Ronaldo and all the likes. Yeah, at the moment, the attacking guys, not so much of an interest to me. I think Mount's really interesting at 8, but is with a cluster. Yeah. The little unknown, which we'll come back to in terms of how you might set up and how he might be involved, is a little off-putting for me. Raheem, I think, is a great option. Just probably doesn't work with the balance of team at the moment, where he's kind of also in an empty space. Yeah, Bruno Fernandes is there, but I'm not going to make that sideways move. So it's readjusting the squad. So I think he's potentially one to come back to. The defensive guys, of course, bring interest. James and Chilwell in a back 3, obviously playing as wing backs ahead of that. Absolute dynamite, ridiculous gold. Shouldn't be 6 million, should be about 8 million. And Mendy's a very good price at 5 million. But there might be too many buts at the moment where I just go, I want a little bit of involvement so I'm not adrift in case it goes really well, and therefore I might go with Mendy. Otherwise, I think I'm going to go without, And
that's my current thoughts as well. It's just based on seeing, even Reece has played right centre-back a couple of times, but also the other day in the back 4, he played as the right back and he got forward, I think, twice in the first half. It didn't work as a system, in fairness, but that seemed to be stifling him as well. And Chilwell didn't play at all. We don't know exactly why. Is he still being managed back from his injury? Maybe, which maybe he's going to be like game in, game out for a little while. Who knows? Maybe he's going to be coming off early. I don't know. There's a doubt there, though, is the point.
Yeah,
you
enough
think-
of a doubt to
That's
because
right.
I'd really like to get Chilwell and punch against the Reece James owners, but there's too much doubt, I think.
So Chilwell started 6 Premier League games and scored 3 goals last season.
Yeah, it's
So he's a
insane.
phenomenal asset. But you think, do I want to pay 6 with a doubt when there's assets at 5 at other clubs? And I'll let other correspondents talk about that.
Yeah, I think
you think
he needed
he's nailed
to have a really good pre-season to make you feel confident in him. And, you know, for you to say we don't even know why he wasn't involved on Saturday night is concerning.
Yeah.
Enough of a concern to say I can't put him in at the moment.
No, you can't. I think there's too much of a doubt because, for all we know, there is still a problem with the injury, and it was a serious injury. And the fact that he came on against Watford doesn't mean anything. He might as well have come on in his trainers because he played in he went and stood in a hole. I think he touched the ball a couple of times, just to get the cheers in the crowd. But he was brought on, as I say, just from Tuchel to give him like that mental boost and let him have the reception from the crowd because he was the only England player, as I said, he didn't play at all in the Euros. He had a really disappointing time. He didn't start last season, if you remember, and Tuchel was kind of alluding to his head's not right. So he's like, right, I'm going to get you back in the game. I'm going to bring you on. You're going to see that the crowd still love you, everything like that, and we'll go again from next season when you're fit. Question is he fit?
Maybe he's someone who really suffers with the confidence side of the game and stuff and fear of injuries and stuff. Yeah, we don't speak about these sort of things enough, but yeah, there might be an issue there. Obviously, started last year. Yeah, we're reflecting on it now. We kept saying, where is he? Where is he? And we never really got the explanation for why and stuff.
No.
Reece James, everyone wants. We all want him. But what sort of Reece James can we expect at the start of this season?
At the moment, the rumour as well was that even if we did sign Koundé, he might start Koundé as the right wing back and Reece as the right centre back.
Which makes no sense in my head, by the way.
No, and it was apparently it was like an easing in thing, and it's not like this isn't a concrete thing at all. This was just from one of the journalists. I think it was Matt Law was like sort of theorising this. But Reece James is such a good FPL asset because he just gets the ball in the box over and over again. It's that chance creation. It's that BPS. Like a couple of years ago, we drew 3-3 at West Brom, and he got booked, and he didn't get an assist, but he still got a bonus point because he created so many chances, and that's what he does when he's playing wing back. We just get the ball out to him, and he gets the ball in, and it just racks it up. But if he's playing right centre back, you lose that.
Yeah, but in fairness to him, he has improved the defensive side of his game to the extent that Tuchel really trusts him to play right-sided centre back.
Yeah,
that's the reality. If we ever get a Reece James Trent team for England together now, it's probably Reece James at right-sided centre back. It's probably what we're going to see. Hopefully, it's never left wing back again. By the way, Gareth, that was awful. But he's almost become, because you've got defensive problems, I have enough concerns that he will start in a back three. And then I might as well not bother. I might as well just get Koulibaly and save $1 million. Or go with Mendy, save $1 million. In your opinion, what formation do you think you start with?
Back three, I think.
And if we're looking at the team at Everton now, run through what you think that looks like.
So,
Kepa in goal, just for jokes.
Obviously. At the moment, the back three I think it would have to be, and this would be good if it was this way around, but it would have to be Koulibaly, Thiago Silva, and Trevor Chalobah. There's not, it shouldn't, it can't be Malang Sarr.
You say that.
He plays against Tottenham, but we can pick anyone against Tottenham.
Oh, mate, he looks world class against us. I've said that to you loads of times. He looks shit against everybody else.
That's right.
If you think to send a message, you might look at Everton away and think, I'll take a chance here.
Yeah, but then I think, who would he play? Is he really going to play like Hudson-Odoi as a wing back away at Everton? I don't think he is. I think that's too attacking. So I think he'd have to play Reece as right wing back, and hopefully Chilwell was left wing back.
Okay.
And then
what you described there, just to stop for a second, it sounds great. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. That back three is good enough. Chalobah's been really good. I think he had a few dips towards the end of the season, but he had a really good kind of first full season. Shoney can play at the level, and Shoney can play for you. Certainly, at least as cover, as a good player. And then you've got James and Chilwell at wing back in front of that.
Yeah.
It's not a problem if that's the team we see.
No, with N'Golo Kante and Mateo Kovacic in centre midfield, Mount just
Behind
in front
him.
of them, and Havertz and Sterling as a front two, kind of with Mount sort of just behind.
You're going to win the league. What's the problem?
Well, we can't play that 11 every single week, midweek and weekend.
Yeah, but is that what you really think the game week 1 team is going to be?
If I had to guess now, based on what I've seen from us playing 4 at the back, I think we're going to play 3 at the back. So
Okay.
I think, yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, I don't know the exact personnel in centre midfield, but otherwise, that would be my guess.
That's strong.
The
If
first
that's
11
your
is
team
very
every week,
strong.
finishes top 3, no doubt.
It is strong, but then once the Champions League kicks in and everything like that, Thiago's going to be 38 in September, and I know he keeps going. I know he's very fit for his age and everything like that. But and obviously you're going to pick up injuries, especially if you pick up the same injuries we did last season. Because once you start taking these players away, if, for example, Alonso does get his move to guess who, Barcelona, then suddenly Emerson's playing again.
Mate, you know all these years you've hated Tottenham, and no Chelsea fan can ever truly define why that rivalry properly started.
Yeah.
Just start it with Barca, mate.
We do hate them as well, and we hate PSG. But these are, they were always a sporting rivalry, and now it's a transfer rivalry. Now I know how everyone else felt when we just used to buy everyone that came on the market.
Yes, why everyone dislikes you. Yeah, there you go. Where does Gallagher fit into all of this?
Backup. I think he's essentially like Kante's sort of backup.
Do you see him taking that role on longer term?
Yeah.
That's how I see it as well.
Yeah, and I think this is like, particularly now with the 5 subs, is like a really good way of easing him in. And if we get like the same sort of Champions League group that we normally get, where like last season we played Malmo, I mean, Ruben Loftus-Cheek looked like Zinedine Zidane against Malmo. Like, you can play people like Gallagher in games like that, and he's gonna fit straight in. I think it was something that was really like harsh for him the other day was he played in the half with the back 4, where nobody knew sort of their positions because we don't play like that. So he'd like get his head up. Oh, where's the left centre back? Oh, we don't have one. Oh, who am I going to pass it to now? Now I'm going down a hole, kind of thing. So he probably looked a bit off it the other night, but long term, he's like, his progression again has gone up and up and up and up. Like, he was lower half of the Championship with Charlton. They took him out of that and took him to Swansea. Then lower half of the Premier League, mid Premier League. So he's shown everything that you could possibly show on a loan.
I also wonder with him, considering what you're saying about some of the mentality of the squad might not be right at the moment. Yeah. He's infectious.
Yeah.
He obviously cares about the football club. One of the things he's made very clear this summer is like he's Chelsea boy, wants to play for Chelsea and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is why he wants the opportunity to try and do so rather than go out on loan again and be a star at Palace, for example. And sticking him in the team sooner rather than later might not be a bad idea. Even if the quality level you might think he's a little below at the moment, you get the crowd going and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
Unbelievable. I wonder if he might make a breakthrough into that team sooner than we expect, actually.
Well, I would obviously, and every Chelsea fan would absolutely love that to happen. We do need to be realistic with N'Golo Kante. He's still one of our best players, but he gets injured a lot. Like, I'd actually put him in the category now of injury prone. I don't know how much of it he brings on himself. I don't know if you heard this story slightly off topic. The day after we won the Champions League, Jamie Vardy said that he called Kante to congratulate him, and he didn't answer. And he called him back 2 hours later, and he goes, "Where were you?" "I was out for a run." He's like, "You won the Champions League yesterday," and you think, well, yeah, that sounds exactly like N'Golo Kante, but maybe at this age, because he's over 30 as well, and with a number of high intensity games he plays, maybe he might need to start actually having to look after himself a bit more, because he's never had to do that before.
No, well, he's going to have to learn to do it as well in seriousness. Another one, I mean, what a player. Like, you have certain games, and it was still happening last year. It's like you've got 12 men on the pitch when he's at his best. But I think that's likely to become less and less.
That's right.
Kind of by the passing week, to be totally honest, because he'll find his recovery tougher.
Exactly. That's it. That's right. And that's where we're going to have the opportunity for Gallagher to come in. And I hope it should be him next in the pecking order. It should be the usual three.
I mean, Gallagher is better technically than Kante as well, I would say.
Probably. I mean, Kante, a lot of what Kante does gets underestimated, underappreciated because there's other things that he does so much better. So I think he is better just in general than people realise. But I do agree.
To clarify the comment, what N'Golo Kante does well, when he does it well, no one can get near him.
No,
he's the best at it of anybody on the planet. So it's just me in terms of Gallagher's technique, in terms of striking the ball and stuff, and perhaps his creativity from that position would be better. Kante's comes from running beyond and beating people and stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess once you put that 11 out, we talk about Gallagher was certainly going to be pushing. I get the fear because there's a lot of bodies there that, frankly, you don't want on the pitch, right?
That's right. And there's a lot that don't want to be on the pitch either. So now this is a problem, and this is a hangover from the previous regime, where, as Suj was saying earlier, we just started stockpiling players, and now it's like, oh, hang on, now we've got all these players that all play in the same position, but none of them are any good.
Yeah, take a couple of seasons to kind of clear it out and come out of the wash. I look at it. There's only one player that's made it into my draft since the game opened, and that was in a Man City shirt, Raheem Sterling, while the transfer was happening. And none of the others. Like, I don't see any of the others particularly with the ownership, other than Reece James. No one can, as mentioned on the pods, hurt me really badly if he does really well. Reece James, he really could. But if I wanted to get Raheem Sterling in, it was when I had a draft that was like what I'd call sort of 9-6. A lot of people got 10 good players, 5 bits of fodder. To get Raheem Sterling in as well, I'd have to go 9-6. And it's whether or not I want to do that. But I think he's going to have a really good season for you. And I want to be in early on Raheem Sterling. But then I just went cold on it, to be honest with you. I'm like, you know what? I can just go back for it later if I need to. I can downgrade a 10, 11 or 12 million player down to him. I don't need to do it from day one. And his ownership, is only at 6.5%.
Yeah, he's not going to hurt you at all.
Me either. So there's no one there other than Reece James that I'm worried about. And there's plenty of doubts that we said and all the rest. So it's kind of like I can just park Chelsea. I mean, my draft right now: 3 Liverpool, 3 City, so that's 6. 2 Arsenal, 2 Spurs. Right, it's all top 5 clubs already, and yours is the shakiest of them all. So, yeah, I think I'm going to end up with no Chelsea at the start of this season.
I think there's a lot of people that are trending that way. I've seen it a lot in the Slack. I've seen it in my own team because, I've done exactly the same, which is such a shame because I look at the fixture list that we've got, and I think if this was like, I don't even really like the guy anymore, but if this was Jose in like the peak times, you look at, we've got all the tougher teams at home. Remember when we never used to lose a home game? We'd be like, we're going to be 10 points clear at Christmas. And we're going to be like, sort of 12, 15 by the end of Feb. And then we'll probably lose like away at Spurs or something like that. But we're going to be far enough ahead that they'll go, oh, there's a title race. And we're like, there's not a title race. We're just going to blitz this. But that's not the reality this year.
Yeah, there's something really interesting with your fixtures. So I've mentioned this before, but if anybody wants to look at FPL's FDR, and it's not the recommended, by the way, I noticed that Tottenham away and Leicester away are equal difficulty at the moment. And I think yourselves as well.
Well, we won them both 3-0, so I don't know what
Easy, sweetheart. But all of your away games on the FPL FDR at the moment, prior to the World Cup, are a 2, suggesting they should fall under the easy. Now, your home games are a bit more difficult. In fact, I would argue Wolves at home is the only one I would consider as a green fixture, and we're looking at them not too sure which way it will go. To clarify the home fixtures before the World Cup: Tottenham, Leicester, West Ham, Liverpool, Wolves, Brentford, Arsenal. You've got them all at home to start, basically.
Man United, Arsenal, wasn't it?
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, so I thought you said Brentford. Brentford's away, no?
But here's the thing. Chelsea can win every single one of them games. And other than the Liverpool game, depend on the state of the two teams when it comes around, you'll be favourites to win all of those games.
If Chelsea win all of those games, you'd expect them to be in and around the hunt for the title then at that point.
So then you look at the away games and you go, Everton away, Leeds away, Southampton away, Fulham, Palace, Villa, Brentford, Brighton. They get a bit tougher as they go on, then Newcastle. But certainly the first few, Everton, Leeds, Southampton, Fulham, you'd look at them 4, and if I said to Gary now 10 points from them 4 away games, he'd probably be a bit disappointed. And if you actually take before the Liverpool game, the 3 home games, Tottenham, Leicester, West Ham, if I said to Gary 7 from those 3 home games, I think because they're all at home, that would be the minimum expectation. So actually, when we look at those first 7 fixtures, the expectation from Chelsea is probably minimum, really, 5 wins, 2 draws, 0 defeats. I have a feeling that's not how it's going to work out.
It doesn't feel that way, no. But you're right. That's what it should be.
Yeah. You are capable of winning all 7 of them fixtures. No question. In isolation, Tottenham at home, Leicester at home, West Ham at home, you would expect, if you're at your best, to win all 3 of those home games. If people might go, Tottenham, listen, the history between the 2 clubs, you will expect to win that game. Those 4 away games, okay, the record at Everton's not been great. And particularly early in the season, you can expect an off day and probably an away game early on. But again, honestly, 10 points from 12 as a target's realistic, isn't it? Got to be.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Despite all the bad stuff that's going around at the moment, the fixture list suggests to me Chelsea could make an incredible start.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. But again, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like something's going to go wrong in there.
But then that happens with us every season. Every summer, you think like something's going to go wrong with Chelsea. I don't know why. We just get written off all the time. Because there's always been like, there's a turmoil. There's always a turnover.
It's not writing you off because we're saying that the capability is there.
Yes.
When we look at the team against last year, it's Koulibaly for Rudiger, and Sterling's goals are now in the team instead of Lukaku not wanting to be there. In theory, best 11 on the pitch, capable of doing anything against anyone, as proven by your 4 games against Liverpool last year, right? 4 draws. I mean, that tells us where we're at, right? Narrow defeats to Man City, 1-0 twice. That tells us where we're at. Was it 4 games against us without conceding the goal?
That's right.
Yeah. Won all of them. So we know what you're capable of, undoubtedly. But it's the back end of last season. The off-field stuff, Tuchel's comments make us feel a little bit nervous, I think. I wouldn't tell anybody not to get Reece James, for example. I wouldn't tell anybody not to get Mendy in goal. I wouldn't tell anybody not to get Mason Mount. But something's nagging away at me, and you haven't changed my mind.
No, and I'd love to have been able to change your mind, because I'd love to have seen a much different game on Sunday night. And it isn't just that. It's a lot to do with Tuchel's comments. His comments now, his comments at the end of last season. I think things have taken their toll on him. As you said, he was the one that was up in front of the media doing all the interviews that people like Bruce Buck should have been doing.
Absolutely.
Was just absolutely nowhere to be seen. Yeah. You have to remember, it's completely separate. Tuchel was also going through a divorce at the time, which like isn't, I
didn't know that.
Kind of things. Yeah, he got divorced at the end of last season. These kind of things like they play on your mind. And I think he was thinking, right, that's all finishing at the end of last season. Now let's kick on with this season. And I don't think he feels that we've kicked on like we should do. And things haven't moved quickly enough. And he sounds worried that we're not ready. And I'm worried that we're not ready. We've got one more friendly, Udinese, on Friday. So we'll see. Maybe we'll win that 5-0. And then I'll say, right, we are going to win the league.
Let us know what you think afterwards. Where do you think you finish?
Oh, God, James, I was going to say, give us a laugh to end the podcast. Where did Gary say he was going to finish a week ago on the old predictions before the Arsenal game?
Well,
tell me it was first.
Yeah, obviously. Let's see what he says now.
Realistically, and this is without like all the negative and everything, 3rd.
I think that's fine. When I saw the first, I thought, oh, look at the new correspondent coming in, Billy Big Bollocks. He'll stop doing that. He'll start getting realistic. But I don't mind it, mate. Listen, if you've got confidence in your team, great. It's flipped a lot. And I think, yes, if we'd have done this podcast 2 weeks ago, it'd probably be quite different because you'd be, the incomings are definitely happening. You keep having setbacks in the transfer market and stuff as well. No doubt Chelsea are going to add to this squad, which is another layer that FPL managers need to consider in their thinking. If you do suddenly go and buy a great right wing back, are we stuck with Reece James at right-sided centre back? I think I've said this a number of times. I know you've heard it all before as well, Gary. I think you could finish anywhere between about 1st and 8th. I think you're at serious risk of top 4 this year. I think my team is stronger, and I think Arsenal are really getting stronger as well. If Chelsea perform as they can, they'll finish top 4. But I think there's a risk layer there, and it might come down to what happens over the next month and what happens in terms of keeping people fit during the season as well. Because there are layers of problems there when you start taking key players out, which is obvious. That does apply to other teams, in fairness, as well.
Yeah, and I think, but also then the flip side that I'm like trying to tell myself is if we did this on March the 31st, when we'd had, as I say, 4 defeats, we'd played Liverpool 3 times by then, hadn't lost, we'd be saying there's something to build on here. We get some goals in there. A lot of stuff happened last season. We were the only club that never got games postponed because of COVID, because there was going to be nowhere to rearrange them because we had to go and play in the Club World Cup. So the only midweek we had off until we went out of the Champions League was when we travelled back from the Club World Cup. Otherwise, we had to play every weekend, every midweek, and when players get injured and they're not coming back, and then there's the whole Lukaku business and everything like this. And you think, right, that's not going to be the case this season. There's something to build on.
But then once we hit sort of game week 5, it starts again, and you are going to need that squad. Right. And that would be a concern at the moment because the Pulisic's, the EXs, all these guys, as you said, they've just not done it, frankly.
That's right.
And it doesn't feel like they will.
Pulisic, right? He was brilliant, and he got that injury in the FA Cup final, and he hasn't been the same since. And if for some reason you ever find yourself watching a Pulisic compilation, I'm sure you do it all the time. If you see him playing really well, he'll be wearing the number 22 because that was the shirt he was wearing until that day. That was his last day, and then he switched to number 10. And you just haven't seen him play well that's 2 years now that he's not played well.
I would have thought 22 weighed heavier than the 1 and the 0.
Oh, it's nothing to do with the actual shirt number.
Just something changed.
Yeah, that's it. No, the injury. The injury is what happened. That was a bad hamstring injury, and he's just not been the same. He's lost that bit of pace. He's probably lost that bit of confidence, and I think we have to be realistic and say he's just not going to be the same player, not on a consistent basis anyway.
Okay. I take it if anyone did say James versus Chilwell, you just got to say James at the moment, basically.
Right now, only because of the fitness thing, I'd say James. If they were both fit, then it's fairly equal. It's more equal than people. I think people have maybe forgotten about Chilwell because Alonso's like that's it. I said he scored 3 and 6 last season. But you always think of Alonso as the goal scoring wing back that we have. Well, Chilwell's just as capable. He just also knows how to defend. But
that's debatable.
He knows what he's a look. When you've watched Alonso and Malang Sarr and Palmieri, Chilwell knows how to defend.
We'll finish on a couple of things. Gary, where can everyone follow you on the Bird app?
At Phantom Mantle.
Good man. Go and give Gary his account a follow. How many followers at the moment?
About 550.
Yeah, that needs to be 1,000 by the time the season kicks off and Chelsea have gone mental and no one's got any Chelsea assets and it's your fault. In Gary's predictions for the season, I also noted that there was Tottenham 6th on those predictions, which also doesn't correspond with most of the other correspondent predictions. If you're thinking Gary's got a bit of needle towards Tottenham, he probably does, in fairness. Clash of the Correspondents returns August the 11th, Chelsea versus Tottenham with Gary and Ricky Saunders.
I'm looking forward to it.
See you soon, buddy.
Thank you.
That's not strategically planned so that they can gang up on you. Gary.
Oh, no, it's before Gary's silly prediction. It was already in place.
Lovely. Gary, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed your first Planet FPL experience. We're glad to have you on and looking forward to your thoughts and ideas over the course of the season. Top job. James, where are we headed to next?
Oh, my God. Leicester City.
Yes.
With Aaron Lagor. What's going on? They're like the only club in the country who hasn't made a sign-in yet, I think. I think the local clubs brought someone in with a bag of chips or something. Leicester haven't done anything. No doubt we'll do the pod surge and they'll buy like 3 players between that and me publishing it. But yeah. But despite that, they might be better off with no European football this year. So that'll be a really interesting chat with Aaron for you. Be the first of tomorrow's. We've also got West Ham and Brighton with Chris Stone and Sam Murray for you tomorrow as well.
Lovely, jubbly. Looking forward to it. You know what? We're recording in the evening with Aaron. I might even bring a beer. Listeners, wherever you're listening to the podcast, make sure you're subscribed. You'll get notified as soon as that episode goes live. Hope you are enjoying Correspondent Week so far. And if you are, you can find all of the correspondents on a list, and James's Twitter account at Planet FPL Pod. Give him a follow and give him some support. But other than that, stay safe. Ciao for now.
Cheers, Gary. Great debut, mate. Good luck for the
Thanks,
season.
guys.
Cue music, please, man child.